You know that strange heaviness that shows up in your chest when you're sitting with your friends, nodding, smiling, laughing at the right places, yet something inside you feels dim and far away? It's unsettling, right? Because you look connected, you sound connected, you act connected, but you don't feel connected at all. And that mismatch creates a quiet ache you can't explain. Most people think loneliness happens when you're physically alone. However, the loneliest moments often appear when you're surrounded by people, because that's when you realize how disconnected you truly feel. And that realization stings harder than silence ever could. You tell yourself, this should feel good. You're with people you like, people you choose, people who invite you, yet somehow, the more they talk, the more you fade into the background of your own life. You're there in the room, but you're not really there in yourself. Because something inside you stays curled up, guarded, and unseen. Everyone else seems fully present, laughing without hesitation, sharing stories without fear, leaning into each other with such ease. But your mind whispers, why can't I feel that? Why can't I sink into this moment like they can? And that whisper feels like a crack spreading quietly through your sense of belonging. You think the loneliness comes from not fitting in, but the deeper pain comes from pretending that you do. Because every time you force yourself to act okay, to match the energy around you, to keep the mood light, you separate from the part of you that wants something more real. And once you disconnect from yourself, you disconnect from everyone around you. You start shrinking in subtle ways. You laugh at jokes that don't land. You swallow thoughts that feel too heavy. You soften your opinions until they disappear. You monitor your expressions like you're on stage. You play the easy friend, the one who doesn't create tension, doesn't talk too deep, doesn't take up emotional space. However, every time you do that, you make the gap between the real you and the presented you grow just a little wider. And that gap becomes loneliness. Not the loud kind, but the soft, suffocating kind that makes you walk home feeling hollow even though you spent the day surrounded by people. You replay the whole night on your way back. Did you say too much? Did you say too little? Did they notice your silence? Did they actually enjoy your company, or were you just there? You search for clues in your memory as if someone secretly handed you a test you didn't know you were taking. Yet here's the twist. You're not lonely because your friends don't care. You're lonely because you didn't feel safe enough to let them meet the parts of you that actually need connection. Somewhere along your life, you learned that being open is risky. You learned that feelings make you vulnerable. You learned that asking for understanding might push people away. So you built emotional armor. Careful words, polite smiles, soft laughter, but armor that protects too much eventually isolates even more. You don't feel lonely because you're quiet. You feel lonely because your real voice never gets to enter the room, and the world cannot connect with a version of you that you keep behind glass. Think about it. Maybe you became the peacemaker because someone once exploded when you showed anger. Maybe you became the listener because no one listened when you spoke. Maybe you became the strong one because your weakness was once treated as an inconvenience. Maybe you became the low-maintenance friend because having needs felt unsafe. These roles kept you alive, but now they keep you lonely. Because every time you censor a truth, you lose a piece of closeness. Every time you swallow a feeling, you widen the distance. Every time you nod when you want to speak, you reinforce the belief that the real you doesn't deserve space. And that belief sits quietly inside you like a locked door your friends don't even know exists. You're surrounded by people who care, yet you feel like a visitor in your own friendships. Not because they don't value you, but because they only get access to the safest, brightest, most edited version of you. Not because they asked for it, but because that's the version you learned to offer. So the loneliness doesn't come from being left out. It comes from being unrevealed. Your heart wants to be understood, but it's terrified of being exposed. You crave closeness, yet you brace for rejection. You want someone to ask how you're really feeling, but you panic at the idea of answering honestly. Your body stays present, but your emotions stay hidden in the next room, hoping someone notices the silence and knocks on the door. And that, right there, is why the loneliness hurts so deeply. Because it isn't distance from your friends. It's distance from yourself. You might think you need different people, better people, deeper people. However, what you truly need is permission. The permission to be seen without filtering. Because connection isn't built by being perfect. It's built by being real. And real doesn't always look pretty. Real sometimes trembles. Real sometimes cracks. Real sometimes stutters. Real sometimes says, I don't know why, but I feel empty today. And the people who truly care don't pull away from that truth. They lean closer. You're not lonely because you're flawed. You're lonely because you're compressed, shrunk, muted, edited down to a version that feels acceptable instead of authentic. But something inside you is changing. You're exhausted from hiding. You're tired of being the shadow of yourself in rooms where you wish you felt alive. And that exhaustion is not a weakness. It's a message. It's a message that you're ready for connection that doesn't require performance. A message that you're craving moments where you can breathe without monitoring your every breath. A message that you're done being the quiet ghost in conversations where your soul wants to speak. And maybe, just maybe, your loneliness isn't a sign you don't belong. Maybe it's a sign that you're outgrowing relationships where your true self has never shown up. But here's the powerful truth. You don't heal loneliness by being liked. You heal loneliness by being known. Not by everyone, but by a few people who can finally meet the version of you that's been waiting behind the curtain for years. You don't need louder friends. You need safer moments. You don't need more people. You need more truth. You don't need bigger social circles. You need fewer masks. Because the loneliness that follows you into every room is not a sign that you're unlovable. It's a signal that you're unfinished, unexpressed, unshown. And the moment you let yourself be seen just a little more, just a little deeper, just a little more honestly, the world around you begins to shift. You start feeling present. You start feeling grounded. You start feeling understood. Not because everyone suddenly changed, but because you finally allowed connection to reach the parts of you that have been starving for years. You're not impossible to love. You're just overdue to be real. And when you finally show who you are, connection stops feeling like a performance and starts feeling like home.